Yeah. Yes guys, welcome back to another video. As you will see, for once, I'm not actually in the gym. So this video today is going to be something a little bit different to what you used to see him, but something that is very important to me. So you guys that follow me have probably followed my journey on stage in natural bodybuilding, all the way up until LA last year when I won the World Championships. But what I haven't really shared before is probably my journey from a mental standpoint and probably the things I learned in my previous years that stood me in good stead to make them achievements possible, to be honest. So what I want to do going forward, because one thing I have learned in those achievements is that the standalone success on the stage is very short-lived. But what I've had since then has been a lot more powerful in the fact that I've had people come to me and say, "You've really inspired me, you've helped me in this way," and that means a lot more to me than ever winning just a medal on stage could. So what I want to do going forwards is to probably share my story a little bit more and do more to help people mentally and physically. So I'm here today with Daniel James, who I've known for a very long time. We've been good friends for a number of years, and he runs the Prime Life Project. I've been a big fan of Dan's work for a long while now because he's doing a lot of work within schools, within the community, on social media to help people with their mental health. So it's actually an honour for me today to be on his podcast, talking about my journey, sharing my story. If I'm completely honest, I'm a little bit nervous right now because this is something I haven't shared on the internet before, on social media. And I'm probably going to be talking about things that I never have before in this regard. So yeah, we're going to get into it. You guys are going to see behind the scenes, and the full podcast will be on Dan's YouTube channel, which I will put on the description below. So let's see how it goes.
You know? Yeah, mate, that's it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, wicked. Yeah, is there anything we need to go through before? Or?
No, just roll with it.
Yeah. And then, like I say, there'll probably be things I say.
David? I call you Dave. Do you prefer David?
Do you know what? Some people call me Dave, some call me David. If people ask me my name, I'd always say David, but I don't really care.
Okay, I can't always call you Dave.
Yeah.
Like, it says David everywhere. So
Yeah.
Is it Dave or David? I don't know if you do. I was supposed to be Daniel, and I'm like, I literally don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, we ready to roll, Mr. Markham?
We are. I've just put my coffee somewhere.
I'm going to keep sipping on this and I'll be buzzing by
I'll be off my tits. That's what I'm sticking just to the coffee. I'll probably use that later. Welcome back to an episode of the Prime Life Project podcast, the place to help you both mentally and physically become the best version of you. Today, I'm delighted to introduce a very, very good friend of mine. I've known this gentleman for a very long time. We're going back to my football days. We're going back to when I was at college. I was a completely different person, and so was he. And he reached out to me the other day on Instagram, and he basically mentioned about coming on the podcast. And I think my response was something along the lines of, no offence, but what can you really bring to the show? And because we'll get into what he actually does in a second. And then he goes, let's just meet for a coffee. 2 hours later, we met for a coffee, and I was like, mate, you need to come and share this. So I've got a gentleman with me today, Mr. Dave Langsdale. How are we?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on.
It's an absolute pleasure. And I said, you've not spoken about this topic before. It's something very close to your heart. And this is why I was so shocked. I've known you for years, and the stuff we're going to talk about today, I've had no idea. Again, you're a natural pro bodybuilder, which in and of itself is an incredible achievement. And that's what I thought you wanted to talk about. So then when you were like, no, mate, I know what you're about, and I think I've got some value to add, and then we sat down, I couldn't believe the stuff you've gone through. So let's just go back. Let's just take it back. What was life like for you growing up? Because that's kind of where things started for you when it comes onto your journey. And it all kind of fits in nicely, because what tends to happen is people have had like things happen here and there. But for you, it kind of did really all start at childhood. Yeah. So can you take my audience back to your childhood and what life was like for you growing up?
Yeah, so basically, I was born in New Zealand, and both my parents are English. They got married in England, and when they got married, they moved to New Zealand together. I was 3 years old, living in New Zealand, and my parents broke up. My mum left New Zealand to be back around her family back here, and so I grew up with my mum in England, my dad on the other side of the world. And then going forwards after that, my mum remarried, and then as a result of that, I can say that my childhood probably wasn't full of a lot of love. It was a childhood which involved a lot of fear.
Have you had a conversation with your mum about all this stuff from what happened in your childhood? Have you had like an open, honest conversation about the stuff that you saw and how you felt, or is it just been something that's kind of been brushed under the carpet?
To be honest, like me and my mum have a great relationship now, so yeah, we can talk openly with each other about everything, not just from how things were from my point of view, but also how they were from her point of view. Hasn't always been like that, which is tough because you can live with a little bit of frustration, but I'm very happy that now I have a relationship with my mum where I can talk about that stuff. And one thing I will say is you grow up with a frustration. Like I could easily go, oh, she's taken me away from my dad, or she's put me in this situation. But we know now as adults that everyone's not perfect. Everyone wants to be loved, and everyone, is craving kind of the same thing.
And your mum's going for her own, like I said, she's going for
Exactly.
her own journey, and she was doing what she thought was best for not just her, for you as well.
Exactly.
And that's a big thing as an adult to realise.
Yeah.
Wow, she was struggling too. I had no idea, because I imagine you put so much blame on her. I imagine at certain points and almost a bit of resentment.
Yeah, I feel like when you're younger, well, for me personally, you kind of see your parents and you think they've got to be these perfect people. And what I now realise looking back is my mum was younger then than I am now, and I'm still making mistakes. I'm still like looking for things in my life, and she would have been exactly the same. So from that standpoint, I'm just very like in awe of my mum, more for the fact that she was strong enough and had the character to get out of it, and then for what she has had to face since then as well.
What was kind of going on internally, like your internal monologue at that time?
So say it was times where all your friends are at home and they're, I don't know, having dinner and stuff like that, like, and no one's around to kind of like play football with or whatever. I do remember times like say in school holidays and stuff where I was like, my mum's not at home, she's not home from work yet, I just don't want to be at home because of the way I might be spoken to, the way I might be treated, and yeah, so I'd just literally just be walking the streets in my own little world because that was a lot more peaceful than being at home. When I was 19, after college, I went to move to New Zealand. Like I said, my dad hadn't really been in my life through my childhood in terms of like face-to-face. There was a part of me that wanted to go get to know my dad again, because he's like, I say you want to love your parents. You want to love your parents. And as you know, we were playing football at the time quite serious, and you join that together with the fact I was born in New Zealand, my dad's over there. I wanted to go play football at the top level in New Zealand, so it all made sense. So at 19, I moved over there, and it ended up being a year. I mean, I went through a little bit of homesickness and stuff, but I would say that, I probably struggled in a lot of ways. I can't really say a bad word about my dad, but it wasn't like I'd expected.
I remember seeing you on Instagram, and I remember thinking, like, bear in mind, I'm in the fitness industry, and I see you training during the lockdowns, and I'm thinking, mate, will you calm down?
Yeah.
I was thinking, why are you going so hard during the lockdowns? And obviously when we get into your story, I was like, that makes complete sense. I didn't even click because I didn't, and this is again where I think it's really interesting when we're talking about this when it comes to mental health. With all the stuff I know, I didn't associate you with struggling with mental health.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that mental health doesn't have a look.
Yeah, that's
People
very
are struggling,
true.
it doesn't have a look. Like there's no sort of telltale. Obviously, there's a telltale sign.
Yeah.
But you can. Anyone in your life could be struggling mentally, really struggling, and you have no idea because looking at your page, I was like, he's just a bit obsessed with the gym.
Yeah.
That was really it. And
Yeah.
again, the way you were talking, holding yourself, conducting yourself, the videos, I was like, oh, he's fine. He's
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
smashing.
yeah.
He's fine. He's just really obsessed with the
Yeah.
gym. Didn't think anything more of it. And it's just a really interesting thing for the audience listening to this to be like, you don't know what people are going through and how much they're struggling.
Yeah.
So let's then talk about a big decision. Obviously, I took my big decision, went to America.
Yeah.
You then decided to go to the other side of the world again. You've got a thing with that side of the world.
Yeah,
I'm quite jealous. Like, New Zealand,
it's that passport, you see, it
It's
keeps
like,
dragging me back.
When you were still in New Zealand, it's always one of the places I wanted to go to. So then let's talk to me about going to Australia then, and then we'll sort of go there, because this is kind of really now where if you're on a roller coaster, we've kind of had a few bumps, but this is really kind of where your life takes a bit of a nosedive. So let's just sort of talk about that a bit.
Making that decision, it was almost like, okay, I was born in New Zealand. It's never really kind of made sense to me why I've got this passport, because I've obviously gone to New Zealand. It's not really worked for me there. And I kind of, on reflection now, the story in my head was, that's why I've got this New Zealand passport. I was meant to meet this person.
Yeah.
I'm meant to live in Australia. I'm going to go live the dream over there. I'm going to be living 2 minutes from the beach. I'm going to be with the love of my life. All that frustration I've been through over the years with my family, like I'm getting away from that now.
This has led to this moment. It's meant to happen.
This all makes sense now. I'm going to go live this life in Australia. It's going to be perfect, you know. I've got money saved in the bank, everything. I'm ready to go. Moved over there and learnt very, very quickly that the reality was not meeting the expectation. As we say, the reality when it becomes a full-time almost relationship is very different to how it's going to be when I'm on holidays in Australia all the time. And that crosses your mind at the time, like, oh, will it be different when I move? And maybe I was a bit like, no, this is the real thing. So there was some false expectation and stuff, and from that point of view. I'd see what my mum was going through, and it's like, yeah, but I've been through this, and this, and I'm fine. Like, so why are you not fine? Like, come on, get out of bed. Like, you got stuff to be doing. Like, I'm going to the gym, I'm doing this and that. Like, I'm traveling, I'm working.
Fine.
I'm fine. Yeah, where really it's just all been pushed to the back of the mind. I'm going to ignore it. But yeah, basically what happened then was, obviously, I'm going for this dream move to the other side of the world. I'm going to live there for the rest of my life. That's where I'm going to live. My family's going to be over there with this person. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks when obviously things didn't work out. I've gone from having this dream life ahead of me to being back in England. I looked outside, it's dark, it's cold, it's raining. My money's gone. It felt like everything had gone, basically. My mental state, like my
was your mum
happiness.
still struggling at this point as well when you got back?
Yeah, I'd say she was.
So you're also not in a good home environment. And like your mum's struggling.
I hope she doesn't mind me telling this story, but for example, like I've come home to my mum's house, and I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this. But I came back, and it's like, okay, I've come back and I've looked, and the bathroom door's got holes in it from where she's like took a hammer to the bathroom door in frustration one day. So it was quite clear that she still was a bit like, not...
It's getting to understand, because again, people don't open up and talk about it.
Yeah. At that point, I just wanted to find something to give me a level of happiness again. And you start to really think deeply and think, like, what do I enjoy doing? And I'd competed, like I say, before Australia, and it was like, I enjoyed doing that, you know? So I just... At that point, it was just, I want to get that back in my life. I want to get back competing. And it's funny, actually, because in them moments when I felt at my lowest, I literally built this vision in my head of just saying in 6 months' time, I'm going to compete again. And just the picture in my head of seeing myself smiling on stage, just smiling, we're not talking about winning or anything, we're just being on stage with a smile on my face. That was enough to keep me going, to think, I'll be smiling again in 6 months' time. Just do what you need to do day by day and work towards that. And when you say in terms of like winning the 3 British titles and then like going on to win the Worlds, it's been the same mindset along the way. It's not like, oh, I'm going to do this achievement, I'm going to win this show. It's just, I'm going to focus on this today, I'm going to focus on this tomorrow. And then along the way, it's been like, okay, I've won this. What's next? Okay, let's aim for this. It's not like I said 3 years ago I want to be a pro and a world champion. All I wanted to do was put a smile back on my face again. But then when you tick off one thing, you realise that in that process, you've found some levels of happiness, and I want more of that. And then I'm going to set another goal and just keep reaching higher and higher and higher, because it's in the pursuit of chasing them goals that I've found days of happiness, like some good habits in my life, some good... just day to day I wake up and I'm excited for my days ahead, just in the pursuit of chasing them goals. Now people are clicking on social media, they see a guy who's absolutely shredded, massive, and it's like, I want to get like that.
In 12 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, a lot of these people, again, I know a lot, not as much as I used to, but back in the day when we were first started bodybuilding, I was nowhere near your level. But a lot of people lie.
Yeah.
And what they portray on social media versus reality, and it gives these kids a false expectation of what's actually achievable. Yeah. And again, genetics plays a massive part.
And let's say on the flip side of that, if someone does get involved in steroids, they don't actually know what they're letting themselves in for, first of all. So going back to what I've been through, it's happened over a number of years. So the key is probably patience, and that patience, I don't want to get in a discussion here about like being natural versus taking steroids, but for me personally, I feel having that patience and just doing it by self-improvement, not trying to look better than someone else or as big or as shredded as someone else. Just look in the mirror, try and improve what you're doing in the healthiest way possible will serve you so much better long term than going down that route.
Mate, this has been a fantastic conversation. I've really, really enjoyed this. That's what I'm looking at. It's really good Steve Bartlett. They've got people who talk about on the pros. It sounds darling.
So it's almost like you're a better podcaster than him. So guys, the podcast here with Dan is all done. I'm definitely feeling a lot more relaxed now than I was at the start of our video before we got it started. We've filmed a podcast which is an hour and 10 minutes long, talking a lot about mental health and the journey that I've been on personally. I'm excited to watch this back, and I'm excited for this being shared on Dan's channel, so make sure you please check it out for me and let me know what you think. It was actually a lot easier than I thought. I thought it was going to be tough to open up about this stuff, but I mean, Dan's great at what he does. He asked me the questions in a really nice way, made me feel comfortable answering the questions. So yeah, I hope it does justice for my story, and I really hope that it can help and inspire someone in some way. So, big thank you to Dan. We need to get him on the video. There will be plenty more content to come in terms of what I share in the gym and my journey back to the stage again later this year. But for now, it was important that I thought I shared this kind of stuff. But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for watching the video. Give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me. But thank you, and I'll see you on the next one.